Now, let's begin. Jonathan Hayes pulled into the driveway of his modest two-bedroom house in Alexandria at 2,147 hours. Old habits died hard. The porch light flickered, a reminder to change the bulb he'd been ignoring for 3 weeks. Inside, the silence pressed against him like a physical thing. 4 stars on his uniform, 32 years of service, and he came home to microwave dinners and CNN playing to an empty room. He'd earned those stars the hard way. Born in a trailer park outside Chattanooga, Jonathan had lied about his age at 17 to escape a father whose fists spoke louder than words and a mother who'd stopped trying to protect him. The army became his family. He bled for it in Kandahar, lost 3 toes to frostbite in the Hindu Kush, and carried the weight of 47 names, men who died under his command, carved into his memory like scars. The divorce papers had arrived 6 months ago. Marina Hampton, now Marina Elliott, after a quick courthouse ceremony, had made her choice clear. She wanted normal, backyard barbecues, a husband who came home at 5, someone who didn't wake up swinging for nightmares. She found that in Cody Elliott, a cop with the 47th Precinct who coached Little League and smiled in all his Facebook photos. Jonathan didn't blame her. He'd missed Samantha's childhood, piece by piece. Every ballet recital traded for a briefing. Every birthday marked by a phone call from another continent. His daughter was 19 now, studying pre-law at Georgetown. And sometimes when she looked at him, he saw a stranger trying to remember why this stern man with gray at his temples mattered. He was heating up leftover Chinese when his phone rang. The screen showed Samantha's photo, her high school graduation, cap tilted at an angle, that bright smile that reminded him of Marina before everything went wrong. "Hey, kiddo." Sobbing. Deep, gasping sobs that turned his blood to ice. "Dad." Her voice cracked. "Dad, I need help. I'm at the 47th Precinct. Cody arrested me. His partner's here. They're saying I stole something from a convenience store, but I didn't, Dad. I swear I didn't do anything. They're laughing. Cody said no one will believe me because he's a cop and Mom will side with him." And Jonathan's hand tightened around the phone. His voice dropped to the tone that made colonels straighten their spines. "Which precinct?" "The 47th on." "Don't say another word. Not one word. Do you understand? I'll be there in 12 minutes. He didn't call a lawyer. Didn't change out of his uniform. He grabbed his keys, his ID, and walked out the door with the kind of cold fury that had once made enemy combatants reconsider their life choices. Traffic laws became suggestions. His Charger hit 90 on the highway, and the speedometer climbed. 9 minutes. He thought about Samantha at 6 years old, crying because kids at school said her dad was never around. He thought about promising he'd always protect her. He thought about a man who put his hands on his daughter. The 47th Precinct squatted on the corner of Maple and 4th, a brutalist concrete building from the 70s with bars on the windows and fluorescent lights that hummed like angry insects. Jonathan walked through the front door at exactly 2,159 hours. The desk sergeant, a heavy-set man named Perry Conley according to his nameplate, glanced up from his computer. His eyes went wide. He shot to his feet, so fast his chair rolled back and hit the wall. "General Hayes, sir." The salute was crisp, textbook perfect. Jonathan didn't return it. "Where's my daughter?" "Sir, we have a Samantha Hayes in holding, but take me to her. Now, then take me to the officers who arrested her." Perry's hand shook as he fumbled for his keys. 2 other cops in the bullpen had stopped mid-conversation. One was reaching for his phone. Jonathan's gaze swept the room, cataloging faces, badges, the way everyone suddenly found something fascinating about their paperwork. They walked down a hallway painted institutional beige, past holding cells that smelled of stale sweat and desperation. Perry stopped at the 3rd cell and unlocked it. Samantha sat on a metal bench, mascara streaked down her face, her Georgetown hoodie torn at the shoulder. When she saw Jonathan, she tried to hold it together. Failed. "Dad." He stepped inside, knelt down, examined her face with the clinical precision of someone who'd seen interrogation aftermath. "Did they hurt you?" "No, but Cody grabbed my arm really hard when he put me in the car. He said I was making a scene, that I was embarrassing Mom, that. We'll talk later." Jonathan stood, turned to Perry. "The arresting officers. Now, they found them in the break room. Cody Elliott leaned against the counter, coffee in hand, laughing at something on his phone. His partner, Donnie Gonzalez, was eating a sandwich. Both wore their uniforms with the casual arrogance of men who'd never been challenged. Cody looked up, saw Jonathan, and his smile wavered. He was younger than Jonathan expected, maybe 35, with the kind of square-jawed good looks that probably played well with juries. "Can I help you? You arrested my daughter." Wait, Samantha Hayes is." Cody's eyes flicked to the stars on Jonathan's shoulders. His face went carefully neutral. "Sir, with all due respect, your daughter was caught on camera stealing a bottle of vodka from a convenience store on Harrisburg Avenue. The owner filed a complaint. We responded. Standard procedure. Show me the footage. That's evidence in an ongoing." "Show me the footage." Donnie set down his sandwich. "General, maybe we should call the captain. The captain can join us. Until then, I want to see what you used to arrest a 19-year-old girl who's never had so much as a parking ticket." Cody's jaw tightened. For a moment, something cold flickered behind his eyes, something that didn't belong on a man who'd sworn to protect and serve. Then he smiled, all professional courtesy. "Of course, sir. Right this way." The security room was cramped, smelling of burnt coffee and electrical ozone. Cody pulled up the footage on a desktop that looked 10 years old. The timestamp read 1847 hours. The camera angle showed a convenience store interior, aisles of chips and candy, a bored clerk behind bulletproof glass. A girl in a Georgetown hoodie walked in. Dark hair, Samantha's height. She browsed the liquor section, glanced around, then slipped a bottle into her hoodie pocket and walked out. "That's not my daughter." "Sir, that's..." Her hoodie doesn't have that Nike logo on the back. Samantha's left-handed. That girl used her right hand. And if you check the metadata on this file. Jonathan leaned closer to the screen. "This was recorded last week. Not today." The silence stretched. Donnie stood in the doorway, hand resting on his belt, near his gun. Cody's smile had vanished. "You framed her." Jonathan's voice was conversational, almost pleasant. "You took old footage, found someone who looked similar, and used it to arrest my daughter. The question is why?" "That's a serious accusation, General." "Yes, it is." Jonathan straightened, and suddenly the small room felt even smaller. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to release Samantha immediately. You're going to destroy this arrest record. And then you're going to tell me what this is really about." Cody's hand moved to his gun. "Or what?" "Or I make a phone call to a friend at the FBI who specializes in police corruption. Or I contact the Inspector General. Or..." Jonathan smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "I handle this myself. And trust me, Officer Elliott, you don't want that." The door opened. A man in his 50s, silver hair, captain's bars on his uniform, stepped inside. Clark Leach, according to the nameplate. He had the weathered face of someone who'd spent decades navigating department politics. His eyes went to Jonathan's stars, then to Cody, then back. "General Hayes, I'm Captain Leach. I understand there's been some confusion regarding your daughter's arrest." "No confusion. A false arrest. Fabricated evidence. And I'm starting to think it's not the first time these officers have pulled this particular trick." Leach's expression remained carefully neutral. "That's a serious allegation. Do you have proof?" "I have a daughter who was at Georgetown Library until 1930 hours. There are security cameras, witnesses, and her campus ID card swipes. I have footage with the wrong timestamp showing someone who isn't her. And I have 2 officers who seem very nervous right now." Jonathan turned to Cody. "Last chance. What's this about?" Cody's face had gone red. "You think you can come in here and throw your weight around? You think those stars mean? They mean I've spent 3 decades learning how to identify enemies, eliminate threats, and protect what's mine. You put your hands on my daughter. You try to give her a criminal record. And you did it because..." Jonathan paused, pieces clicking into place. "You wanted to punish Marina. She broke up with you, didn't she? Before the wedding. And you couldn't handle it." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "We're done here." Leach's voice carried command authority. "Elliott Gonzalez, my office. General Hayes, your daughter is free to go. I'll personally ensure this matter is handled appropriately." But Jonathan saw it in Leach's eyes. The flicker of something that said this wouldn't be handled at all. This would be buried, paperwork would vanish, and Cody Elliott would be back on the streets tomorrow with a slap on the wrist and a warning to be more careful next time. He'd seen this before. In Afghanistan, when a local police chief was taking bribes and looking the other way while insurgents moved weapons through his district. In Iraq, when officers were running protection rackets and calling it peacekeeping. The same rot, different uniform. Captain Leach, Jonathan said quietly, "You should know that I keep detailed records. I document everything. And if something happens to my daughter, if she gets pulled over for a broken taillight, if she suddenly develops a drug problem that didn't exist before, if she has any unfortunate accidents, I will burn this precinct to the ground." He walked out without waiting for a response. Samantha was silent during the drive home. She sat with her arms wrapped around herself, staring out the window at streetlights that turned the city into amber shadows. Finally, as they pulled onto her street, she spoke. "Mom called. She said I was lying. She said Cody wouldn't do something like this, that I must have done something to provoke him." And her voice cracked. "She chose him over me." Jonathan pulled over, put the car in park. "Listen to me. Your mother's in a difficult position. She's scared. People do stupid things when they're scared. She didn't believe me. I believe you. That's enough." Samantha wiped her eyes. "What happens now?" "Now you go inside, you lock your doors, and you don't talk to Cody or your mother or anyone from that precinct. I'll handle this." "How?" Jonathan thought about Kandahar, about a Taliban commander who'd executed 3 aid workers and thought himself untouchable because he had the local governor in his pocket, about the patience required to watch, wait, and learn every detail of a target's life before striking. The same way I've handled every enemy I've ever faced. Carefully, he drove home through empty streets, mind already working. Cody Elliott wasn't just a bad cop. He was a symptom of something larger. The way Donnie had positioned himself near his gun. The way Captain Leach had intervened so quickly. The way no one in that bullpen had met Jonathan's eyes. This was organized. Systematic. Back in his study, Jonathan pulled out a notebook, actual paper, not digital, because paper couldn't be hacked, and began writing. Names. Timeline. Every detail he could remember. At 0200 hours, he sent a secure email to Reginald Waller, an old friend from his days at the War College who now worked as an investigator for the Inspector General's office. The reply came 15 minutes later. 3 words, "Call me." Secure line. Jonathan dialed the number from memory. Jonathan. Reg's voice was gravelly from too many years of cigarettes he'd never quite quit. "It's been too long. What's the emergency? I need information on a cop. Cody Elliott, 47th Precinct, and his partner, Donnie Gonzalez, and a Captain Clark Leach. That's a hell of a shopping list. What did they do? Arrested my daughter on fabricated charges. But that's not what worries me. The whole precinct felt wrong. Too organized, too quick to close ranks." A long pause. "The 47th has had complaints. Nothing that stuck. Witnesses recant, evidence disappears, that kind of thing. But there's smoke there. Give me 48 hours. I'll dig up what I can. Reg, this is personal. I know. That's why I'm telling you to be careful. If you're right about this being organized, you're not dealing with one bad cop. You're dealing with a network. And networks protect themselves." Jonathan hung up and stared at the notebook. 4 stars Min Command. Strategy. The ability to see a battlefield from above and coordinate moving pieces into devastating patterns. But this wasn't a battlefield. This was his daughter. This was personal. And that meant the rules were different. The next morning, Jonathan drove to Georgetown. The campus was alive with students hurrying between classes, backpacks slung over shoulders, coffee cups clutched like lifelines. He found Samantha outside the library, sitting on a stone bench with her roommate, a girl named Ruby Fuentes who was majoring in computer science. "Dad!" Samantha stood up. "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk. Both of you." They found a quiet corner of the library, 3rd floor, between stacks of legal texts that nobody checked out anymore. Jonathan pulled out his notebook. "Ruby, Samantha mentioned you're good with computers." Ruby shrugged. "I mean, I can code in Python and Java, set up networks, basic cybersecurity stuff." Can you access security camera footage? Legally? Let's assume legal for now. Ruby exchanged a glance with Samantha. Maybe? Depends on the system. Most convenience stores use cheap DVR setups that are basically plug-and-play. If I can get physical access or find the model number, I could probably pull files. Why? Because the footage Cody Elliott used was doctored. I want the original. I want to know who that girl in the hoodie really was, and I want to know if Elliott has done this before. Samantha leaned forward. Dad, what are you planning? Right now? Information gathering. That's all. Jonathan looked at his daughter. But I need to know everything about Cody. Where he goes, who he talks to, what his routine is. You lived with him and your mother for 6 months. Tell me about him. Samantha's jaw tightened. He was weird about control. Everything had to be his way. What we watched on TV, what mom cooked for dinner when I was allowed to have friends over. He'd get this look sometimes, like he was barely holding back anger. Mom would make excuses, say he was stressed from work. Did he ever hurt her? Not that I saw, but I heard them arguing. Mom would apologize for things that weren't her fault. And his friends, other cops, they'd come over sometimes. They acted like they owned the place. Names? Donnie Gonzalez was there a lot. And this other guy, Larry Rhodes, he was older, kind of quiet. They'd sit in the garage drinking beer, and whenever I walked past, they'd stop talking. Jonathan wrote it down. Anything else? He has a cabin. Upstate, near the Shenandoah. He goes there on weekends sometimes. Said it was for fishing, but he never brought back fish. Ruby cleared her throat. General Hayes? If you're investigating cops, you should probably know they're going to notice. These guys have access to surveillance systems, DMV records, everything. If you start digging into Cody Elliott's life, he's going to know. Good. Jonathan smiled grimly. Let him know. Let him worry. Scared people make mistakes. Samantha grabbed his hand. Dad, please don't do anything dangerous. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Kiddo, I've been shot at by people who were actually trying to kill me. A dirty cop doesn't scare me. He squeezed her hand. But I need you safe. That means no contact with Cody or your mother until this is resolved. Stay on campus, vary your routine, and if anything feels wrong, you call me immediately. After they left, Jonathan sat alone among the law books and thought about next steps. The direct approach, official complaints, internal affairs, media exposure, would alert Elliott and give him time to cover his tracks. But a slower approach, gathering evidence piece by piece, risked giving Elliott time to strike again. He needed leverage. Information that couldn't be buried or explained away. He needed to become what he'd once been in Kandahar. A ghost, watching from the shadows, learning every weakness, every vulnerability, until the moment was right. His phone buzzed. Reg. That was fast, Jonathan said. That's because what I found scared the hell out of me. Reg's voice was tight. Cody Elliott's been on the force for 12 years. 7 excessive force complaints, all dismissed. 3 lawsuits settled quietly by the city. And here's the kicker. Every cop who's ever tried to testify against him either transferred out of the precinct or had their career destroyed. What about Donnie Gonzalez? His partner for 6 years. Clean record on paper, but he's been present for all of Elliott's complaints. And Captain Clark Leach? He's been running interference for Elliott since day one. Internal Affairs opened 2 investigations. Both were shut down from above. From where above? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But Jonathan, listen to me. If you go after these guys, you're not just taking on 3 dirty cops. You're taking on a system that's been protecting them. That means lawyers, union reps, maybe politicians. These people have resources. So do I. You're one man. One man is all it takes. You taught me that. Jonathan thought about improvised explosive devices, about how a single well-placed charge could bring down a building. I need more information. Financial records, phone logs, who Elliott talks to, where his money comes from. That's going to take time, and it might not be enough. These guys are careful. Then I'll make them careless. Jonathan ended the call and stared at the notebook. Strategy was about understanding your enemy's center of gravity, the one thing they couldn't afford to lose. For Cody Elliott, that was his reputation, his power, the fear that kept people silent. And fear, Jonathan knew from experience, was most powerful right before it broke. He made a series of calls. First to Peter Mullins, a journalist with the Washington Post who'd embedded with Jonathan's unit in Afghanistan and owed him more favors than could be counted. Then to a private investigator named Santos Mayo, who specialized in surveillance and had credentials that would survive scrutiny. Finally to Melvin Blankenship, a lawyer who'd built a career on suing police departments and winning. Each conversation was brief, careful, laying groundwork without revealing the full plan. By 1400 hours, Jonathan had 3 people digging into Cody Elliott's life from different angles: legal, investigative, and media. The net was spreading. His phone rang. Unknown number. General Hayes. The voice was male, unfamiliar, with a slight New York accent. You should stop asking questions about Officer Elliott. Who is this? A friend giving friendly advice. Your daughter's safe. Keep it that way by staying out of police business. If she's safe, there's no business to worry about. Unless you're admitting there's something to hide. Accidents happen, General. People get hurt. Would be a shame if something happened to that pretty girl of yours. The line went dead. Jonathan sat very still. The threat was explicit, recorded on his phone, traceable if they were stupid enough to have used a department line. But more importantly, it confirmed what he'd suspected. Elliott hadn't acted alone. He had backup, and they were worried enough to threaten a 4-star general. That meant they were vulnerable. Jonathan called Samantha. Change of plans. You're staying with me until this is over. Dad, I have classes. Your professors will understand. Pack a bag. I'm coming to get you. He drove to Georgetown with his eyes scanning every vehicle, every face, looking for patterns, for tales, for threats. Old habits. The kind that kept you alive when everyone wanted you dead. But this time, it wasn't Taliban fighters or Iraqi insurgents. It was American cops willing to hurt a teenager to protect their corruption. That somehow felt worse. Samantha was waiting outside her dorm with a duffel bag. Ruby stood beside her, laptop bag over her shoulder. I'm coming too, Ruby said before Jonathan could protest. If you're investigating these guys digitally, you need someone who knows what they're doing. Plus, Samantha's my friend, and I really don't like corrupt cops. Jonathan studied her. Ruby was small, maybe 5'3", with sharp eyes behind rectangular glasses and the kind of stubborn set to her jaw that reminded him of soldiers who'd refuse to quit no matter how bad things got. All right, but you follow my rules. Both of you. No unnecessary risks, no heroics, and if I say run, you run. They drove back to Alexandria in silence. Jonathan kept checking mirrors, looking for tails. Nothing obvious. But that didn't mean anything. Good surveillance was invisible. And if Elliott had resources, he might have people who knew how to follow without being seen. The house felt different with 2 19-year-olds in it. Louder, more alive. Samantha took her old room, unchanged since she'd left for college. Faded One Direction posters, a bookshelf full of Harry Potter novels, softball trophies gathering dust. Ruby set up at the kitchen table with her laptop and 3 external hard drives. Okay, Ruby said, fingers flying over keys. First thing, we need to assume they're watching. That means encrypted communications only, burner phones for sensitive calls, and no discussing anything specific over email or text. Jonathan raised an eyebrow. You've done this before? My dad's a lawyer in Texas. Whistleblower cases, police misconduct, that kind of thing. I grew up learning how to not leave digital footprints. Ruby pulled up a series of windows. I've already started building profiles. Cody Elliott has social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Most of it's locked down, but his Instagram is public. Lots of gym selfies, pictures with other cops, weekend trips to that cabin Samantha mentioned. Can you geolocate it? Already did. It's in Page County, near Luray. Registered under an LLC called Blue Line Properties. Want to bet other cops own shares in that LLC. Jonathan leaned over her shoulder, studying the photos. Cody at the cabin with Donnie, both holding beers. Larry Rhodes visible in the background. Another man, heavy set, familiar somehow. Zoom in on that guy. Ruby enhanced the image. The man had sergeant stripes, graying hair, a scar across his left cheek. That's Perry Conley, Jonathan said quietly. The desk sergeant from last night. So they all know each other. Ruby pulled up more photos. Look at this, Cody and Captain Leach at a charity golf tournament. And here's Donnie with his wife and kids at some police barbecue. They're not just co-workers. They're a network. Samantha sat on the couch, arms wrapped around her knees. What are you going to do? Jonathan thought about Kandahar again. About the Taliban commander who'd seemed untouchable until Jonathan had systematically dismantled his network, cut off his supply lines, turned his allies against him, isolated him until he was just one man facing overwhelming force. I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to find their weakness, exploit it, and destroy them from the inside out. Ruby looked up from her laptop. That sounds kind of terrifying, General Hayes. Good. That's the point. Over the next 48 hours, Jonathan's house transformed into a command center. Maps of the 47th Precinct's jurisdiction covered one wall. Photos of Cody, Donnie, Leach, Perry, and Larry Rhodes filled another. Red string connected them, showing relationships, shared cases, patterns of behavior. Reg sent encrypted files. Financial records showed Cody Elliott made $78,000 a year as a patrol officer, but had purchased a $200,000 cabin, drove a BMW, and took expensive vacations. Donnie Gonzalez's wife had recently received a $50,000 inheritance from an aunt who didn't exist in any public records. Captain Leach owned 3 rental properties in areas with high drug activity. Larry Rhodes had a gambling problem and owed money to at least 2 bookies. They're dirty, Reg confirmed over a secure call. But proving it is going to be hard. These guys are careful. Cash transactions, shell companies, layers of deniability. Peter Mullins from the Post called next. I've been nosing around. 3 people have filed complaints against Elliott in the past 18 months. One was a college student, white kid, clean record, said Elliott planted drugs on him during a traffic stop. The kid refused to plead out, went to trial, and the jury convicted him anyway. He's serving 3 years. Where? Riverside Correctional. Medium security. I can arrange a visit if you think it's worth it. Do it. I want to hear his story. Santos Mayo, the private investigator, reported in last. Elliott's been very active lately. Meeting with people I don't recognize. Not cops. Not known associates. Cash exchanges. Encrypted phones. Something big is happening, General. And I think your daughter's arrest was part of it. Part of what? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But if I had to guess, Elliott's moving product. Drugs, probably. Using his badge to protect his territory and eliminate competition. And I think he tried to scare you by going after Samantha. Prove he's untouchable. Jonathan felt the cold fury return. How do we prove it? We need someone on the inside. Someone Elliott trusts. Or we need to catch him in the act. That night, Jonathan couldn't sleep. He stood in his study, staring at the web of connections, thinking about chess, about sacrifice plays, about giving your opponent exactly what they wanted so they'd walk into a trap. Samantha found him at 0300 hours. You okay? Just thinking about how to destroy them, about how to do it right. There's a difference between revenge and justice. Samantha sat in his desk chair, spinning slowly. What if you can't do it legally? What if the system's too corrupt? Then I find another way. Even if it's illegal? Jonathan looked at his daughter. I've done things I'm not proud of. Things that had to be done because there wasn't a clean solution. But every time, I made sure I could live with the consequences. That's the difference between me and them. I know the weight of what I do. I don't want you to go to jail because of me. I won't. Because I'm smarter than they are. And I'm more patient. Ruby appeared in the doorway, laptop under her arm. Sorry to interrupt, but you're going to want to see this. I got into Cody's email. Don't ask how, plausible deniability, and all that. He's been corresponding with someone using a Proton Mail account. Encrypted, but I managed to recover some deleted drafts. She pulled up the screen. Jonathan read, his jaw tightening with each line. Package delivered Friday. Location secure. No complications. Buyer asking questions. Need to confirm reliability. Problem solved. Girl scared, father neutralized. This is from 3 days ago, Ruby said. The day after you showed up at the precinct. Father neutralized. Jonathan's voice was ice. He thinks threatening me was enough. There's more. Ruby scrolled down. He's planning another delivery. Friday night, 2,200 hours at the cabin. Someone named the Bishop is supposed to be there. The bishop. I cross-reference criminal databases. It's a nickname for Herman Weeks, a mid-level distributor with connections to Mexican cartels. If Cody's meeting with him, we're not talking about small-time dealing. This is trafficking. Jonathan stared at the screen. A plan formed, piece by piece, like an operation order written in real time. We need evidence. Video, audio, something that can't be disputed. I can help with that, Ruby said. I've got equipment, but someone has to be there to place it. I'll go. Dad, I've done infiltration before. I know how to not be seen. Jonathan turned to Ruby. Can you pull blueprints for the cabin? I need to know entry points, sight lines, places to hide cameras. On it. The next day, Jonathan drove to Riverside Correctional. Peter Mullins had arranged the visit, official press credentials, recorded interview, everything above board. The kid's name was Jeremy Howard, 21 years old, skinny with hollow eyes that said prison was eating him alive. They sat in a visiting room that smelled like industrial cleaner and desperation. Jeremy's hands shook when he picked up the phone. Why are you here? Because Cody Elliott arrested my daughter. On false charges. And I think you can help me prove he's dirty. Jeremy laughed, bitter and broken. Prove it? Man, I tried to prove it. I had witnesses. I had my phone GPS showing I wasn't where he said I was. Didn't matter. Jury believed him because he's a cop, and I'm just some kid. Tell me what happened. I was driving home from my girlfriend's place. Late, maybe midnight. Elliot pulled me over, said I ran a stop sign, which I didn't. He made me get out, started searching my car. I'm thinking, whatever, I've got nothing to hide. Then he reaches under my seat and pulls out a bag of cocaine. I've never touched drugs in my life. I'm pre-med. I was going to be a doctor. Jeremy's voice cracked. He smiled at me, said I had two choices, take a plea deal, serve probation, or fight it and get destroyed in court. I fought. My lawyer said we had a good case. But then witnesses changed their stories, evidence disappeared, and the jury came back guilty in 40 minutes. Who was the prosecutor? Some assistant DA named Jerry Hayden. But he didn't seem that interested in the case. Like it was routine. Jonathan wrote the name down. Did Elliot ever contact you after the arrest? Offer a deal? Ask for money? No. But a guy came to see me right before the trial. Said he was a friend of Elliot's. Told me I should consider what a long sentence would do to my mother. She has MS. Need me to help take care of her. He said if I took the plea, Elliot would make sure my mom got help with medical bills. Extortion. Yeah, but I was too stupid to take it. Now mom's in a nursing home she can't afford. And I'm in here for 3 more years. Jonathan leaned forward. What if I could get you out? What if I could prove Elliot's corrupt and get your conviction overturned? How? By giving you a chance at redemption. Help me build a case. Tell me everything you remember. Names, dates, conversations. And when this is over, I'll make sure you get justice. Jeremy looked at him with eyes that wanted to hope, but had forgotten how. Why would you help me? Because no one else will. And because Elliot thinks he's untouchable. I'm going to prove him wrong. They talked for another hour. Jonathan learned about traffic stops that felt like shakedowns, about cash that went missing from evidence, about a network of cops who operated with impunity because no one could touch them. Jeremy mentioned other names. Anna Newton, a defense attorney who tried to expose Elliot and suddenly had her own legal problems. Jose Hogan, a convenience store owner who'd filed a complaint and had his business license suspended. The pattern was clear. Anyone who challenged Elliot suffered. And the system protected him because he was part of it. Jonathan left the prison with pages of notes and a growing sense that this was bigger than one dirty cop. This was institutional rot, and cutting it out would require surgery that went deep. That evening, Jonathan met with Melvin Blankenship in a coffee shop in Arlington. Melvin was a tall black man with silver dreadlocks and a reputation for making police departments very nervous. He ordered black coffee, read through Jonathan's notes, and whistled low. This is a RICO case waiting to happen. Corrupt cops, drug trafficking, extortion, conspiracy. If we can prove half of this, the entire precinct goes down. How long would that take? Months. Maybe years. Federal investigation, grand jury, the whole process. I don't have months. Melvin looked up sharply. General, whatever you're thinking, don't. The law works slowly, but it works. If you go off reservation, you lose moral authority and probably your freedom. The law works for people with money and power. My daughter's neither. That kid I just talked to is neither. How many more victims are there? I understand your anger. Do you? Because I spent 30 years defending this country, following the rules, trusting the system. And the system just tried to destroy my daughter because she wouldn't play along. Jonathan's voice was quiet, controlled, lethal. I'm not asking you to break the law. I'm asking you to be ready. When I give you evidence, you're going to file the biggest lawsuit you've ever filed. And you're going to win. Melvin studied him. What are you planning? Better you don't know. Plausible deniability. General, Melvin, I appreciate your concern. But these people threatened my daughter. They thought fear would be enough. They were wrong. Jonathan left without finishing his coffee. Outside, dusk was falling, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple that reminded him of sunsets in Afghanistan. He thought about the Taliban commander, how it had taken 6 months of careful planning before the final strike. How patience was the deadliest weapon. Cody Elliott's cabin was 2 hours north. Jonathan had studied the blueprints, the satellite imagery, the terrain. He knew every approach, every exit, every hiding place. Ruby had provided him with the equipment, miniature cameras, audio bugs, a portable server to capture and encrypt all the data. Friday night was in 3 days. That gave him time to scout, place equipment, and prepare for whatever happened. Samantha caught him as he was loading gear into his car. You're going to the cabin. Just reconnaissance. Don't lie to me. I'm not a kid anymore. Jonathan paused. She was right. Samantha wasn't the little girl in softball cleats who'd cried when he missed her birthday. She was a young woman who'd been arrested, threatened, betrayed by her mother, and was now watching her father prepare for war. I'm going to gather evidence. If Elliott's meeting with a drug dealer, I'm going to record it. That's all. And if something goes wrong, it won't. Dad. Samantha. He put his hands on her shoulders. I know what I'm doing. This is what I trained for. Trust me. She hugged him, fierce and tight. Come back safe. Always. The drive north was quiet. Jonathan kept the radio off, his mind focused on the mission ahead. The cabin was in a remote area, surrounded by dense woods, accessible only by a single dirt road. Perfect for privacy. Perfect for criminal activity. And perfect for surveillance. He parked 3 miles away, hiked in through the woods with a pack full of equipment. The night was cold, clear, stars visible through the trees. He moved silently, avoiding trails, using terrain to stay hidden. Old skills, muscle memory from too many night operations to count. The cabin appeared through the trees at 0230 hours. Lights off, no vehicles visible. Jonathan circled wide, confirming no security cameras, no motion sensors, no dogs. Either Elliott was confident or stupid. Probably both. He placed the first camera in a tree with a clear view of the front entrance. The second in a shed near the back door. The third under the eaves, aimed at the driveway. Audio bugs went inside. One in the living room, planted in an electrical outlet. One in the kitchen, disguised as a smoke detector battery. The work took 4 hours. When he was done, the cabin was wired for complete surveillance. And if Elliott came here Friday night, every word, every action would be recorded. Jonathan hiked back to his car as dawn broke. He felt the old familiar sensation, the calm before combat, the certainty that came from good planning and thorough preparation. Cody Elliott thought he was safe. He thought threatening a general would be enough. He thought the system would protect him. He was wrong on all counts. And by Friday night, he'd know exactly how wrong he was. Back home, Ruby had the server running. The feeds from the cabin came through clear, empty rooms, silent woods, nothing moving except occasional wildlife. She'd set up motion detection, audio triggers, everything automated to capture any activity. This is military-grade stuff, Ruby said, impressed. Where'd you get it? Don't ask questions you don't want answered. Samantha came downstairs, eyes red from crying. Mom called. She said I'm tearing the family apart. That Cody's a good man, and I'm just trying to cause trouble because I'm jealous. Jonathan felt anger rise like a wave. Marina was either complicit or willfully blind. Neither option was acceptable. Block her number. Dad. She made her choice. She chose him over you, over the truth. Block her number, Samantha. You don't need that poison in your life. But she's my mom, and she should have protected you. She didn't. That's on her. The next day, Peter Mullins published a piece in the Post. Not about Elliot specifically. That would be too early, tip their hand, but about patterns of police misconduct, about cases where evidence was questionable, about a system that protected bad actors. Jeremy Howard's case featured prominently, though no names were used. Just facts, presented cleanly, raising questions. Within hours, Jonathan's phone rang. Unknown number again. You're making a mistake, General. I don't think we've been properly introduced. This is your last warning. Drop it. Walk away, or things get much worse. For who? Because from where I'm standing, threatening a 4-star general on a recorded line seems like a bad tactical decision. Silence. Then, cold and hard, Friday night. Stay away from Page County. That's not a request. The line went dead. Jonathan smiled. They knew he was coming. Good. Let them be paranoid. Let them wonder what he'd found, what he knew, what he was planning. Fear was a weapon, and he was about to turn it against them with surgical precision. Thursday night, Jonathan briefed his small team, Reg, Peter, Melvin, Santos, on encrypted video chat. The plan was simple. Friday night, Santos would maintain overwatch from a concealed position, ready to provide backup if things went wrong. Peter would be on standby with his editor, prepared to publish if Jonathan gave the signal. Melvin would have a lawsuit drafted, ready to file Monday morning. And Reg would coordinate with FBI contacts, ready to move if the evidence was solid. This is risky, Reg warned. If Elliot's smart, he'll sweep for surveillance. He won't be. He's arrogant. That's his weakness. And if he finds you, then I deal with it. But he won't. Friday arrived with clear skies and temperatures dropping toward freezing. Jonathan spent the day preparing, checking equipment, reviewing maps, running through contingencies. Samantha watched him with worried eyes, but said nothing. Ruby maintained the surveillance feeds, making sure everything recorded properly. At 1800 hours, Jonathan loaded his car. Black clothes, night vision goggles, the cameras and audio equipment, and, just in case, SIG Sauer P226 that he'd carried through 2 wars and never wanted to use on American soil. If I'm not back by 0800, he told Samantha, call Reg. He'll know what to do. Please be careful. Always am. The drive north was quiet again. Jonathan arrived at his parking spot at 20:30 hours, hiked in through darkness that felt like old friends welcoming him home. The cabin had lights on now, 2 vehicles in the driveway, Elliot's BMW and a black Escalade with Texas plates. Jonathan settled into his observation position 300 yards out, night vision activated, recording devices running. The cameras he'd placed transmitted clear video to Ruby's server. Audio came through crisp and clean. At 2,205 hours, the front door opened. Cody Elliott stepped out, followed by Donnie Gonzalez and a man Jonathan didn't recognize, tall, Hispanic, expensive suit. Herman Weeks, the bishop. Behind them, Captain Leach and Perry Conley emerged, both carrying duffel bags. The audio feed picked up their conversation. Told you it was secure, Elliot was saying. No one knows about this place except us. Your precinct's being investigated, the bishop replied. His voice was smooth, educated, the kind that came from money and power. That article in the Post. People are asking questions. That's handled. We've got friends in the right places. Do you? Because from where I stand, you've got a 4-star general asking questions. That's not handled. That's a problem. Elliot's face darkened. Hayes is nothing. I scare him off with 1 phone call. You arrested his daughter. On false charges. To what? Impress your girlfriend. That's sloppy, Cody. And sloppy gets people killed. I have my reasons. I don't care about your reasons. I care about distribution. Can you maintain security or not? Captain Leach stepped forward. We're solid. The precinct's under control. Internal affairs isn't asking questions. And if Hayes becomes a real problem, we'll handle him. Ow! Leach smiled. Same way we've handled everyone else. Plant evidence, discredit him. Make sure no one believes a word he says. He's just another target. The bishop considered this. Fine, but I want assurances. $2 million in product is moving through your territory next month. If anything goes wrong, if there's even a hint of investigation, I'm pulling out. And you'll answer to my bosses. Are we clear? Crystal, Elliot said. They moved inside. Jonathan watched through the window as duffel bags were opened, revealing bricks of cocaine wrapped in plastic. Cash exchanged hands. Captain Leach counted it, nodded, and everyone relaxed. Business as usual for a corrupt precinct protecting a drug operation. Jonathan recorded everything. Every face. Every word. Every incriminating detail. Ruby's server was capturing it all, backed up in multiple encrypted locations. At 2,340 hours, the meeting ended. The bishop left first, his Escalade rumbling down the dirt road. The cops stayed behind, drinking beer, laughing about how easy this was, how stupid people were to trust a badge. Jonathan waited until 0100 hours. Then he moved, silent as smoke, checking his equipment. Every camera still functioning. Every audio bug still transmitting. Nothing left behind except ghosts and evidence. He was a mile away when his phone buzzed. Text from Santos, "You're being followed." Jonathan's blood went cold. He increased his pace, not running. Running would confirm suspicion, but moving fast through the trees. Behind him, flashlights cut through the darkness. Voices calling out. Saw something move. Checked the perimeter. They knew. Somehow they knew. Jonathan reached his car, started the engine, and drove. Headlights appeared in his rearview mirror. Elliot's BMW, moving fast. They'd found his vehicle, must have staked it out, waited for him to return. The chase was on. Jonathan pushed the Charger hard, hitting 80 on winding mountain roads. The BMW kept pace. Behind it, another vehicle, Donnie's pickup truck. They were trying to box him in. He thought about options. Lead them back to Alexandria? No, that put Samantha at risk. Lose them? Possible, but difficult on unfamiliar roads. Stand and fight? Last resort. He took a sharp turn, fishtailed, regained control. The BMW fell back slightly. Jonathan saw a side road, made a split-second decision, and turned hard. The road was barely paved, full of potholes, leading deeper into the woods. The BMW followed. Jonathan killed his headlights, relying on memory and instinct, pushing the Charger through darkness while trees closed in on both sides. The BMW's headlights fell farther behind, the driver unable to match Jonathan's nerve. 3 miles later, Jonathan emerged onto a state highway. He turned south, merged with sparse late-night traffic, and disappeared. The BMW never reappeared. But the message was clear. They knew he was investigating, and they were willing to chase him through the night to stop it. Jonathan drove straight through, arriving home at 0430 hours. Samantha and Ruby were waiting, the surveillance feeds still running on Ruby's laptop. Did you get it? Samantha asked. Every word, every face, everything we need. Ruby pulled up the files. I've already made copies. Sent one to a secure cloud server, one to Reg, one to Peter Mullins. Even if they come here, they can't destroy this. They're going to try. Jonathan locked the door, checked the windows. We need to move fast. Ruby, can you edit the footage into something presentable? Audio synchronized with video, timestamps, everything legal. On it. Samantha, you're staying with Reg until this is over. No arguments. Dad, they chased me tonight. That means they know I'm a threat. If they can't get to me, they'll go after you. Reg has security, resources, protection. You'll be safe there. Samantha's face crumpled. I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. No. Jonathan pulled her into a hug. This is their fault. They're corrupt, they're criminals, and they've been hurting people for years. You're just the one who gave me a reason to finally stop them. At 0900 hours, Reg arrived to pick up Samantha. At 1000 hours, Ruby finished editing the footage into a comprehensive video that showed Elliot, Leach, Conley, and Gonzalez meeting with a known drug trafficker, discussing distribution, exchanging cash for cocaine. It was devastating, irrefutable. At 1030 hours, Peter Mullins posted the article. Corruption at the 47th. Police officers caught on camera in drug deal. The video was embedded. Within an hour, it had 100,000 views. Within 3 hours, local news stations were picking it up. At 1,200 hours, Melvin Blankenship filed a massive civil lawsuit against Elliott, Gonzalez, Leach, Conley, the 47th Precinct, and the city itself. Wrongful arrest, civil rights violations, conspiracy, racketeering. The lawsuit named Jeremy Howard, Samantha Hayes, and 12 other victims who'd come forward after Peter's initial article. At 1,400 hours, the FBI executed search warrants of the cabin, the precinct, and the personal homes of all 4 officers. Federal agents swarmed the 47th like locusts, seizing computers, files, evidence. At 1,600 hours, Cody Elliott, Donnie Gonzalez, Captain Clark Leach, and Perry Conley were arrested. Federal charges: drug trafficking, conspiracy to distribute narcotics, corruption of public office, witness tampering, and extortion. Jonathan watched it on the news from his living room. Ruby beside him, exhausted from 36 hours without sleep. On screen, Elliott was being perp-walked out of the precinct in handcuffs, head down, the same arrogance nowhere to be seen. "We did it," Ruby said quietly. "We did." But Jonathan knew it wasn't over. The arrests were just the beginning. There would be trials, testimony, appeals. Some officers would cut deals. Others would fight. The precinct would be investigated top to bottom, and more corruption would inevitably surface. And Marina would have to face what she'd ignored, what she'd enabled by choosing to believe a bad man over her own daughter. His phone rang. "Samantha, Dad, I saw the news. They arrested him." "Yeah. What happens now?" "Now they face justice. Real justice, not the kind they controlled." "And Mom?" Jonathan thought about how to answer that. "Your mom's going to have to decide who she is. If she's someone who accepts the truth and tries to make amends, or if she's someone who keeps making excuses. Either way, that's her choice. I don't know if I can forgive her." "You don't have to. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Forgiveness is earned, kiddo. And she's got a long way to go." They talked for a few more minutes. Then Jonathan ended the call and stood on his back porch, staring at his yard, at the fence that needed painting, at the ordinary life he'd tried to build after 3 decades of service. He thought about Jeremy Howard, still in prison, but with a real chance at exoneration now. About Anna Newton, the defense attorney who'd been targeted. About Jose Hogan, the store owner. About all the victims who'd stayed silent because they thought no one would believe them, no one would fight for them. 4 stars meant command. It meant responsibility. It meant using power for the people who had none. And Jonathan Hayes had just reminded a corrupt system that power wielded justly was the most dangerous weapon of all. The trial took 8 months. Jonathan testified, as did Samantha, as did Jeremy Howard and 10 other victims. The prosecution presented the video evidence, the financial records, the pattern of corruption that stretched back 12 years. Defense attorneys tried every trick, attacked credibility, questioned chain of custody, suggested entrapment, but the evidence was overwhelming. Cody Elliott was sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. Donnie Gonzalez received 18. Captain Clark Leach got 25. Perry Conley, who agreed to testify against the others, received 12 years and was required to forfeit his pension. The city settled the civil lawsuit for $8 million, split among the victims. Jeremy Howard was released, his conviction overturned, and was accepted into medical school with a full scholarship funded by donors who'd read his story. The 47th Precinct was dissolved, its officers reassigned or fired after a comprehensive review. Herman Weeks, the bishop, was arrested in Texas and was facing federal drug trafficking charges that could put him away for life. In Marina filed for divorce from Cody Elliott 3 days after his arrest. She called Samantha 6 months later, voice shaking, asking for a chance to explain, to apologize, to try to rebuild what she destroyed. Samantha listened and said she needed time, maybe a lot of time. Marina accepted that. Jonathan stood in his study on a cold December evening, looking at the wall where the investigation had been mapped out. He'd taken it down months ago, but sometimes he could still see it. The red string connecting faces, the weight of evidence that had brought down corrupt men. His phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. but something made him pick up. General Hayes? This is Anna Newton, the defense attorney. I remember. I wanted to thank you. Because of your investigation, the harassment against me stopped. The charges they'd fabricated were dropped. I'm practicing law again. That's good to hear. But I'm calling for another reason. There's another precinct, the 23rd, on the east side, where similar things are happening. Complaints that don't go anywhere, evidence that disappears, officers who seem untouchable. And I have clients who are too scared to come forward because of what happened last time. Jonathan was quiet for a long moment. He thought about retirement, about the peaceful life he'd planned, about finally being done with battles and causes and the weight of other people's suffering. Then he thought about Samantha, about how one bad cop had tried to destroy her future, about Jeremy Howard, rotting in prison for a crime he didn't commit, about all the others who'd suffered in silence because no one with power cared enough to fight. "Send me what you have," Jonathan said. "I'll look into it." "Thank you, General. Thank you." After she hung up, Jonathan stood in the darkness of his study and smiled grimly. Some people retired to golf courses and cruise ships. Some people spent their golden years in quiet reflection. But Jonathan Hayes had spent 32 years learning how to identify enemies and eliminate threats. And if corrupt cops thought their badges made them untouchable, they were about to learn a very painful lesson. For Stars Men Command. And he was just getting started. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.